Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the world famous Prospect Avenue podcast. I'm your host, Kris Baker, here in the bunker, Tuesday, September 12th, 2023, the day after the Buffalo Bills' disappointing season opening loss to the New York Jets at MetLife Stadium on Monday Night Football. We're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about Josh Allen's interception issues. We're not going to talk about some sketchy play calling, perhaps. I don't know. No time for that. Hockey season is here. It's in full swing, really, in the prospects world. European pro leagues are going to start this week. Champions League action has already gotten well underway. Preseason action here in Canadian juniors is happening, and the regular season's around the corner. But the NHL is about to start soon, and it all kicks off this week with rookie camp. Sabres rookies that are going to be participating in rookie camp, and the Prospects Challenge will be coming to town this week. Sabres will kick off the Prospects Challenge Friday night against the Montreal Canadiens. They'll get right back at it on Saturday and then finish up on Monday night. I will be down, as previously mentioned on the last episode of Prospect Avenue. I will be at Harbor Center for all three games, doing color in the booth with Dan Dunleavy and Rob Ray on the Sabres live stream. Always thankful for the opportunity that's afforded to me to join that broadcast. Really looking forward to it. And if you're down there, even though I'm working, I will be wandering around at times. Feel free to say hi. If you're at the arena, always like catching up with Sabres fans, meeting some people that I've never met for the first time is always fun. And, people maybe I've been tweeting back and forth with over the last decade plus. Still can't believe I've been on social media for that long. It's like nearly 15 years. Kind of pretty wild. Anyways, not going to talk about the Bills, like I said, because we have plenty of prospect action to cover in this week's episode, and I want to kind of keep it around 30 minutes if possible. And I think a proper place to start is with Zach Benson. Zach Benson had a hell of an introduction to the new fans in Wenatchee, Washington this weekend with a beautiful goal Saturday, came back on Sunday and led the way with a hat trick, including the OT winner and a 4-3 win over Everett. And Benson was really noticeable Saturday. It was really pesky on Sunday, especially. He was John at the opposition. He was just, mixing it up, but he was also just a dominating force all over the ice, especially in the third period. Wenatchee was really going for the win, looking to close things out. Benson was basically double shifted for the entire bottom half of that third period on Sunday. He had a 2.5-minute shift late in the game. Then overtime came when they couldn't close it out in regulation. And he was out there for, I think, all but about 23 seconds of that overtime session before scoring the winner with 1:24 left in OT on another pretty goal. And kind of want to bring up some clips here of Benson to kind of kick us off tonight because he's a fun player to watch. And I think he's going to be coming into Buffalo with a lot of momentum. And it's pretty clear that, it's going to be a dominating force. I mean, I don't anticipate Benson being in the NHL this year. I think it's safe to say that he'll be back in Wenatchee leading the way for the Wild, perhaps with Matthew Savoy. We'll kind of get into that here in a second. But I do want to bring in some clips here of Zach Benson's work over the weekend because it was really exceptional. And we will just start right off with his first goal on Saturday. And again, this was a heck of an introduction to the fans in Wenatchee with the Wild moving there this season from Winnipeg last year. So this was a play. I tweeted it. You may have seen it already, but it's fun to watch 1,000 times over. So we're going to get right to it. Benson's wearing number 9 here in the left wing circle. He's breaking out of the zone. Puck gets past Lucas Dragicevic, who was a second rounder this past draft. And look at that. It just goes right to the ice. Benson blows past him and finishes off the play. Let me bring that back a little bit again, because you see here a nice little move with the stick with Benson. Gets around Dragicevic, and as he goes, look at him, nudges the puck forward, works him off the puck. Nice deke. Nice save, by the way, but then finish it off on the second opportunity. Beautiful play there from Benson to get his first goal of the preseason. Now, with Benson in action, he didn't stop there. Like I said, he came back and made a nice move here as well on Saturday. This was his first goal that I'm bringing up here in Saturday's win over Everett, the first of 3. We will get a look at all 3, but I want to kind of bring in here number 9. It's going to be a similar play, just on the opposite side of the ice. So he's in front working. Number 9 now here in the right wing faceoff circle, breaking out of the zone. Puck squeezes through both Everett defensemen right onto the tape of Benson. He goes in for the easy, confident finish. Beautiful play there by Benson. Again, using his skating ability, nice speed burst, just like we saw in the first goal with Benson, and definitely not messing around here. Just a real nice release to get that nice, easy finish. We'll take a look here at the second and third goals that Benson had in that win. And here's one on the power play. Pretty simple play here. He's setting up on the right side. It's going to come back to him here in a second in the right faceoff circle. Tees it up and boom. Nice release. Quick and easy. Little half-cock slap shot. One-timer. And Benson just finishes a play like he's done quite a bit since joining the Western Hockey League. Let me fast forward this here because we're going to go right into the overtime, and a little bit of a different play here for him to finish off the game, where I tweeted this one as well. I just think that this is a guy who's a coach's dream, and you're about to see why here in the OT session. Works it. He's just relentless on the forecheck, shoulders his man off the puck, gets it coming down the right wing, settles it, gives it, gets it back, easy finish. That's his 4th goal of the preseason. This is a player coming in to camp with a lot of momentum, and I think he's going to have a lot of fun playing this week here in Buffalo at the Prospects Challenge. So with Benson, he's obviously, getting the season off to a pretty good start here with the preseason work that I just showed you. And Wenatchee, seems to be going for it this year. I didn't know how they were going to handle the move from Winnipeg to Wenatchee. This is a team that loaded up last year, building around Savoy and Benson and Connor Geeky. They had defensemen, Ben Zloty, Owen Peterson, Connor McLennan. The list goes on and on. They were a loaded team. Dalton Swart, another player who's a really excellent junior player. And along the way, gave up a lot of draft picks. Cupboard's pretty bare. And you could look at them going to Wenatchee saying, okay, do they want to rebuild right away and maybe move some of these big pieces, or do they want to get off on the right foot in this new market and build around Benson and maybe Savoy and some of the others that are going to stick around there in the WHL this year? And it looks like, they've added more veterans to that core group, and looks like they're ready to, maybe take another run here at it before entering their rebuild. We'll see how that goes, but as of now, that looks like the plan. And, they're off to, like I said, a dynamite start with Benson pretty much firmly in the mix there. Like I said, I don't see him sticking in Buffalo. I just don't see the room, and I don't see the need to force him up. So we're going to get to Savoy just real quick, even though he didn't play this weekend. I want to talk about him for a second because Sabres fans saw him at the end of the season last year in Rochester, getting his feet wet, adjusting. He's a fast player. A lot of the attributes we talk about with Noah Ostlund's game, and we'll get to him here in a little bit because he's been doing some nice things. But a lot of those things that you say about Ostlund, you can say about Savoy. Fast, very dynamic, thinks the game fast, really exceptional playmaker. They look a little different. I think there's a little more of like a little more aggression in corner battles when it comes to Savoy, not afraid to use his body, where Oslin is definitely different when it comes to that part of it. I'm not saying that Oslin's not engaged. I'm just saying I think you're seeing Savoy a little more engaged to use his body to rub guys off the puck, separate his checks from the puck and whatnot. But, I want to bring up Savoy real quick because Elliot Friedman this week was talking a little bit about Shane Wright and how the NHL-CHL agreement is going to work this year as it relates to Shane Wright. Just to reset the NHL-CHL agreement. It's an agreement between the two leagues that a player would not be AHL eligible if he does not turn 20 years old by December 31st of the season being played. Shane Wright is not going to be 20 this year, and he also doesn't have the required 4 accrued years of CHL play. Because that's the other caveat. You either have 4 years of junior under your belt, or you have to be 20 by December 31st of the season being played. And it sounds like Seattle and the CHL have negotiated where an exception is going to be made for Shane Wright to potentially play in the AHL this year, even though he's not age eligible per the agreement. And, there's probably going to be a little chatter about this, at least in the media with Savoy. We've heard Kevin Adams talk about Savoy's situation this year. He's in a second post-draft year. He's not going to be 20 years old by December 31st. He's actually going to be 20 years old on January 1st, one day. But I don't really think that's kind of the crux of the argument that could come up, at least in the media, for why, Savoy should be granted an exception. I just think we're at that point now where I've been a supporter of the NHL-CHL agreement. I like the junior league being stocked. I don't think, keeping a player down doesn't really hurt the player developmentally. I don't think they're picking up bad habits. I think they're dominating, and that's, never horrible. I mean, you always want to have your players that you're in your system playing at the highest level possible and be challenged by the level of competition they're facing. But it might be hurting NHL teams, though, also, that are putting, time and money into developing these players, and, the importance of having young players in the system on entry-level contracts and having the ability to move them up if they're too good for juniors, especially in that second post-draft year. And I think that's maybe a compromise that could be talked about more down the road. I don't think that petitioning on a case-by-case basis for these exceptions to be made is a healthy environment in the context of this NHL-CHL agreement. But I think maybe creating an exception for, a tweak to the agreement where maybe first-round picks in that second post-draft year can be placed in the AHL if it makes sense for both the player and the team to elect to go that route. I think it'd be a nice evolution to that rule. I don't know if it's something that's going to come up. I haven't heard really a lot of chatter. To me, it's a sensible way. It adds more juice to that first round draft pick status as well for players that are drafted out of the CHL. So I think that conversation will be reprised slightly because, right now, like I was alluding to earlier, Kevin Adams has talked about Savoy maybe being a guy that could stick around past training camp this year. Maybe they can carry Savoy if he earns it, again, on merit, keep him into the season, get him some games, also use conditioning stints, kind of like what Seattle did with Shane Wright last year before Shane Wright went to World Juniors and won a gold medal with Team Canada. But I think that's kind of the likely mission this year for Savoy. We're going to hear the chatter. I think the Sabres could keep them up and extend that runway that they have and not send them back to juniors right away. Get him some games, get him some practice time, get an AHL conditioning stint and kind of stretch it out to just past Thanksgiving, get him into that early December window where he can then report to Team Canada's training camp, send him off to World Juniors where hopefully Savoy excels, maybe with Benson. And then from there, make a decision then. If he can't go to the AHL, then maybe he can go back to the Western League at that point where the Sabres don't have to carry him all season and they won't have to play him the number of games that would then see him burn a year of his contract. Now, if there's injuries and if he's playing well and he, burns a year, so be it, right? It's not a huge deal. But for the long-term development of the player, if the Sabres don't elect to send him back to Wenatchee with Benson right away, maybe that's a scenario that we talk about. But I do expect that NHL-CHL agreement chatter to come up in the Buffalo media, especially if this Shane Wright playing in the AHL thing does come to fruition. So that's the Wenatchee kids. They're on their way to Buffalo. They should maybe even be line mates, and should be fun to watch those two perform here over the next couple of weeks in training camp, both rookie camp and then training camp when the big boys arrive. So with that said, I want to get into a few other players. Before I do, thanks for watching on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify or Amazon or Apple or whatever your podcast platform of choice is, might not be a bad idea this week to check out the video version of the podcast. And while you're there, of course, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's good for the algorithm. It's good for keeping me really amped up to do this as often as possible and put more short form videos out on the channel down the road. But there's going to be some more video in this podcast this week. We just looked at Benson a little bit ago, and I want to bring up some of Noah Ostlund's work here in a couple seconds, because Ostlund's been a steady contributor for Vaxjo through their 4 Champions League games. Vaxjo Lakers have gone 4-0, undefeated in group play in the Champions League thus far. They've already qualified for the Champions League playoff round when that takes place later this season. And, just to kind of recap where he's been right now. So we saw him open the season, get over 20 minutes of ice time, the leading workload for Vaxjo in the first game. Then last Saturday in the second game, came out, scored a goal in regulation where he threw a puck to the front of the net, banked it off a defender's skate, it went back into the net. And then he later iced the 7-6 victory over Stavanger with a nasty shootout goal. You can check it on my Twitter feed. I'm not going to pull it up here today. But that was a beautiful top shelf finish, a thing of beauty, really smooth. You definitely want to check that out if you haven't seen it. Third game went pointless, but then on Sunday, this past Sunday, he picked up an assist on the power play. And just to kind of recap where he's been through those 4 victories, he has 2 goals, 1 in regulation. He's credited with a goal that was the shootout winner against Stavanger. And then he also has the assist, which I just showed, plus 7 shots on goal. And he's been averaging 14.58 time on ice through those first 4 games. So we're already at the 20-minute mark here, and I got 10 minutes to go. And I want to cruise through a couple more prospect updates. And I want to just transition quickly to Shikutami in the QMJHL, where German import selection Norwin Panaka has been looking fairly comfortable early in his preseason transition to the QMJHL. This is a player that has good size and mobility, really good edge work, pivoting, balance transfer into skating. He looks really good on his feet, smooth and poised, and appears to have a really smart defensive stick. And I have a few examples of this that I'm going to pull up here in a second. Now, Panocha started his preseason weekend anyways. I think he had 1 game before, didn't get any points, but he played on Friday night. He contributed a goal and an assist, and then came back on Sunday and had a pair of helpers and a loss to Bakehomo. And these early viewings of Panocha have, while, again, he looks good. He's looking pretty comfortable as he kind of eases his way into things a little bit, but we're already seeing some things where, he wants to areas of focus, I guess, things that he wants to improve on as the season goes. And, keep in mind, this is a 6'2" defenseman. He's got a great frame to build from. And some of the things that you want to see him improve on are going to just be alleviated, and they're just going to improve as he gets bigger and stronger and he gets his man strength going on over the next year or two. You want to see more explosion in his skating stride. You want to see him get more strength on the puck, just get, stronger on his stick. It's going to make him, just more effective on the boards, firmer with his passes. Everything will just have more zip. His shot will improve. But, while that physical development continues, there's also, the actual X's and O's of the game where you're seeing some things where really a need to maybe make some simpler plays and limit some turnovers. So I kind of want to get into that. And before I cue this up, there was a teaching moment that I didn't capture in this clip package here on the second goal in the game against Bakehomo, where, this is a player, what we're seeing right now from Panocha, he likes to get involved and join the attack as maybe that 4th forward deeper, a trailer. And we're seeing him drift into the zone a lot deep, whether it's all the way into the corner, battling for pucks and not retreating back to his post, or, maybe pinching aggressively, going for a hit on the wall, but then maybe not getting back in time. And we saw that on the second goal against Bakehomo, where he left his post at the right point, went in along the boards to make a hit. But meanwhile, the puck got behind him. Bakehomo had a rush. There was a forward back covering for Panocha, but that wasn't, ideal because it led to a goal against. Panocha got back in the zone, just didn't complete the mission. And look, I don't know if they're coaching him to go up and be aggressive, but really you can coach him to go up, but you got to make sure that he gets back and covers his D zone competency. And there's been a couple instances where we've seen, him be very deep in the zone, and it's something to keep an eye on as the season progresses. So I'm going to bring up Panocha's clips here, and we're going to share screen right now. And Panocha is 24 in gray here when we bring this up. So let me get set. Sorry, again, hard to kind of talk and drive at the same time, but I am managing. And again, Panocha is going to be here at the top of the screen, 24 in gray. We got about 4 shifts work, 3 minutes to view, and we'll kind of get into it. So Panocha gets knocked to the ice here. Bakehomo gains the zone. Now, the puck will come back into the zone, and we'll see Panocha in more of a defensive posture here. Again, 24 in gray. So he goes back, and this is going to be, I don't have a problem here with the rim around. Okay. The rim gets cut off by Bakehomo. What I'm going to be a little concerned with here is what happens when he gets the puck back right here. A little soft on the backhand, and it leads to a giveaway there on the boards. He saw a teammate, but maybe that was an opportunity as opposed to making that pass on the ice surface to kind of go, high off the glass. This next clip here is going to be another turnover. You see the puck escape Panocha here, goes over a stick as he tries to keep it at the blue line. He's working his way back. Now he's going to fish the puck out here. But again, this is going to be a more egregious turnover than one turns around and just gives it right away. And at least 2 quick shots on goal for Bakehomo. Nice saves by the goaltender, but you can't have those turnovers right there in the middle of the offensive zone. 9 times out of 10, there's going to be someone there in the opposition ready to scarf those up. Got to keep those along the boards. And if you're going to throw them through the middle, at least look and make sure no one's there. And on the same play here, Panocha is deep in the zone. So this is a defenseman deep. He's there supporting the battle, which is great. It doesn't really burn him here. But again, I just wanted to kind of include this to kind of show the mentality where he's up in the play a lot. And he does have a man covering for him at the right point who gets the puck right here, makes the puck, and he gets off the ice here. Again, it doesn't hurt Panocha here. Here's a nice little collision, by the way. Love junior hockey. It's a slower product, but there's still collisions. But again, Panocha gets off the ice here at the end of the shift. This one here, this is the second assist of the night where Panocha just takes it. He has time, head up, quickly scans, sends a 3-line pass, and sends Chicoutimi in for a goal. Nice play. He had the room to maneuver. He saw all that room on the right side of the ice to send that puck over 3 lines to an open teammate, and it leads to a nice goal. And this here in overtime is a nice play, nice example at active stick. Steps up high in the zone, disrupts the play, really nice play. And he's going to be involved here in the attack for a little bit. Nothing comes of it. It doesn't lead to a goal. But I thought that was a nice defensive play. He took a chance, stepped up, used that long reach. You see how long his stick is there. And you see a little bit of his puck handling ability. Now that exit pass didn't come to fruition, didn't connect. He's going to get it back here again. You're going to see just the skating, the puck carrying ability. Skates himself into space. He'll get it back one more time here, but not do a ton with it. But again, this is Norwin Panaka. I wanted fans who weren't down at development camp to get a feel for what his game looks like. Again, smooth, poised. A couple of those giveaways, I think he'll clean up with some coaching and just through time. But I thought it was important to show some fans that worked down at development camp what this player looks like, how he's been transitioning to North American hockey. And again, you see a big frame. I think you can see just a big body that's going to add some muscle and, maybe, a little more aggression as he goes. You can see him. He wants to battle. He's a willing participant using his body to win puck battles. And as he gets stronger, he'll only become more effective in that regard. So that's some clips on Panocha here. He also will be coming to Buffalo to join the Sabres for the Prospects Challenge. Maybe he'll stick around for a couple practices, and the expectations that he gets sent back to Chicoutimi rather quickly. So with that said, I wanted to head on a couple more prospects here. We're already closing in on 28 minutes, and I wanted to wrap this up fairly quickly tonight. So just wanted to hop over to Sweden real quick and just give you a quick update on Anton Wahlberg and William von Barnekow. They each scored goals for Malmo over the weekend in a 4-1 preseason win over HV 71. Malmo capitalized on a turnover, and that led to William von Barnekow getting the puck and clanging one in off the post and in for his second preseason goal to give the Redhawks a 2-0 lead in the second period. And then early in the third period, Wahlberg was able to finish off a really nice pass from Kim Rosdahl to make it 3-0. What I liked about this and what I thought made it noteworthy is that on the European Preview podcast, which please go back and listen or watch that if you haven't already, talked a little bit about Malmo being at the bottom of the SHL odds board this year. Not expected to make a ton of noise. This is a team that is going to have to battle every night to get some points. But in that 4-1 win over HV71, Malmo looked really balanced. It was a really good effort. They were attacking the play. I just thought it was kind of encouraging, I guess, for a team that's expected to be near the bottom, because if they can bring forth more efforts like that on a nightly basis, perhaps they can have more success than where we're currently seeing them on the SHL odds board. Malmo will open the season, SHL regular season, this Thursday against Lena Shodin and Rogla. And then they will follow up on Saturday for a big matchup for Sabres fans against Noah Oslin and Vaxjo. A nice little, you can kind of grease the skids if you're going to be into Sabres hockey this weekend and coming down for the Saturday night action down at Harbor Center. A couple other housekeeping notes to get to before we quit for the night. I mentioned in that European preview that Joel Ratkovic-Berndtsson, as of last week, was looking for a job. I had speculated that maybe he could land in Hockey Allsvenskan, Sweden's second division. Well, as it turns out, he's ending up in Finland's second division with Forza, FPS of the Mestis division. They're an affiliate of HPK Hämeenlinna. So, the idea is this could be a really good opportunity for Ratkovic-Berndtsson. Again, kind of a shooter's profile, going to a team that finished second to last year in Mestis. So it could be seen for him as an opportunity to get some playing time as FPS looks to kind of battle their way out of, that cellar dwelling position that they were in. They're hoping to have a better year this year, and Ratkovic-Berndtsson could perhaps play a role in getting them a little bit more upward mobility in the standings. And you never know, maybe Ratkovic-Berndtsson could excel with FPS and earn himself a contract with HPK Hämeenlinna in Liga for all we know. You never know. The sky's the limit for a player of his profile, and it's all a matter of him taking that opportunity and running with it. So good to see him get a landing spot for the season. Just some other quick hits here. Prokhor Poltapov has been scratched in back-to-back games, likely due to an injury here. I'm not sure exactly the nature of the injury, if that is indeed the case. But the reason, I'm speculating more on the injury front is that 2 games ago, he was initially listed in CSKA's lineup and then was removed from the lineup as a late scratch in that game. And then, of course, did not appear in the most recent game as well for CSKA. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. CSKA's back in action Wednesday against Dynamo Moscow, their crosstown rival. CSKA's off to a 2-3 start on the season and looking to get things on track early and not have these periods of inconsistency like they've really had the past 2 years in the KHL during the regular season. Scott Retzlaff, I wanted to mention him. He had a start with the Seattle Thunderbirds as the T-Birds iced a very young roster of skaters last week, but nice to see him getting some reps in because he's on his way to Buffalo for the Prospects Challenge, likely to get at least 2 starts, maybe all 3 for the Sabres in the tournament. And so I just wanted to mention that. And also Sean Cohane, just wanted to confirm that he is in camp with the Tri-City Storm of the USHL. As of the past weekend, Cohane did not get into the lineup for any of the Storm's 3 preseason games that they played thus far, but all signs are pointing to the excellent skating, big 6'4" defender and Harvard commit being part of that Storm program here for the entire season. So that's it. We're already over 30 minutes, went a little longer than expected, but as you can see, Aspen here, I think she has to go out. She's looking at me with a very eager look on her face. So I can only imagine what you need to do, Aspen, right? You want to go outside before bedtime? It's a little late here on Tuesday. So we're going to close up shop here. I'm Kris Baker. Thanks for stopping by Prospect Avenue, and we'll see you next time.